Okay, so now we're gonna go back to finish this frame. So here's where we left. Here's the frame that I was about to make. And let me turn on the wireframe unshaded. Always have the wireframe unshaded on so you can see your detail, your outlines. So I'm gonna select. I'm gonna hide a couple of things. I'm gonna select all these guys and Control H to hide them. Do the same for that. And let's bring the frame in here. So here's a frame. I made it out of a polygon pipe. I was adjusting the radius and the height and the thickness. So here's the thickness, 0.2. Height 0.5 and 2 radius. Now the problem is that it's on a 45-degree angle. So what we need to do is hold down the J key and wait until this is 45. So now this is actually straight on the grid. Let me just hide this piece too. So this is on the grid. If you go in the top view, you'll notice that this is just straight on the grid, and this is the grid here. Now the problem is that we do that and we realign the object, and the gizmo remembers the previous rotation. So what we need to do now easily is just to go in and center the pivot point and freeze the transformations. When we freeze the transformations, then that's a new object and we're ready to manipulate. So I'm gonna hold down the J key and rotate that 90 degrees. I always check the degrees here. So I'm gonna go to the front view, bring this up here. Now that's a very big frame and we need to make it smaller. So I'm gonna turn on the X-ray and this needs to be much, much smaller. So vertex, get this guy in here and grab these interior vertices. I'm just gonna make the frame much, much thinner. And obviously we're gonna move these and eyeball them, put them into position here. So these need to go all the way up. Now this is confusing. This is the ledge. I'm just gonna hide that. We don't want to be confused by that. So this we're gonna bring it in. This we're gonna bring it in. So let's go closer to that frame. I'm gonna select this frame, center the pivot point, turn off the X-ray, and move this guy in position. Now this is very thick. Let's look at the photograph. Studio. I think I have it into the source images. Okay, so now let's go closer. Not that we can see much, but the frame is inside like a couple of inches. So we're gonna go back to Maya. And also, let's make this smaller. So I'm gonna do something like that. Bring it. I think that should be fine. A little bit, So, and I can see that there's like there's two frames. There's one like that. It's we could bring it all the way to here. Have that as an exterior frame. Actually, no. It seems like it's in the back. So we're gonna bring it in there. And for the the other pieces of the window, we need to use some reference in a minute. But for now, just to represent the window really quickly, and to see that there's some other corner pieces that are holding the whole frame together. Very easily done. Let's go back to the front view. I think that I need to put this into... This seems to be... Actually, the problem is not the frame here. It's like... it's this wall. Little kind of adjustments need to be done, since all this was kind of forced to fit our design of the exterior paneling. So now I do have the frame. This one we can okay, so that's done. And I'm gonna make those corner pieces right now. So these could be done by creating like just a cube. So I'm gonna go ahead, create a cube. Move this up. I can select it, hold down the V, middle mouse, click it, and snap it here. And just move it up. And that should be just up here on the corner. So this should be around that area. And should also cover that frame. Let's hide the camera. Control H. Something like that. Now this, I can split it in exactly in half, or it doesn't really matter at this point. We can just add an edge loop. And that's the setting from before, so I'm going to undo that. Double click on the edge loop tool and reset it, so then I can actually start adding manual edge loops. So now this is on an angle, obviously, because the wall is angled a little bit. So I'm just going to move this guy up and just angle it. Actually, let's leave it like that for a second, and then first let's extrude, so at least we can get that piece done. A little bit thinner. And now I can angle it just a little bit. So let's go to the front view. And I can bevel that. I can also make it a little bit rounded, so just to give it a little bit of just a slight custom edging, custom shape, I mean. So I'm going to select these vertices. I can move them just a little bit to the back, just slightly. I can move this kind of like some corners just a bit manually. And if I want to bevel that piece altogether, just let's move it in there. I want to select all this exterior edge. It's easier to press Q when you do that operation. It's good enough. We can bevel that. And let's do like a fraction of 0.2. There seems to be some sort of decorative pattern, but we can't really tell. I'm just gonna add some sort of cylinder. So I'm gonna select this, make it live, and create just a small cylinder. Turn off the live. Move the cylinder down into position. And what I'm going to do is just create like a little bit of a... Let's make the cylinder 12 pieces. And I'm going to select all these faces. Just extrude that. Give it a little bit of an offset. We're so close here that the detail is so much, so I can't really use these unless I put like very small numbers. So it's a microscopic area that we're modeling here. So let's do another extrusion. Okay, and then be like just a little bit of that. And so I'm gonna do these two pieces. I'm gonna bevel. So it adds a little bit of a detail to it. See it from the from far away. So that looks fine. So now I'm gonna group these. Save it. So Control G, Command G, center the pivot point, Shift D, move this on this other side. Let's turn on the wireframe on unshaded. Now we want to flip that. So this is moving towards the X, so -1 on the X scale. So notice on the channel box, I'm going to put -1 on the X scale. That will flip this object on the other side. And that should be fine. I'm noticing some of them have like they seem further away, so I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna go and move this closer. So those, and I'm gonna rotate that a little bit just to make it a little bit more, so something like that. Overall, it might have been better if this was a little bit thinner. Maybe from this side too. And let's get this guy in the middle. So now I'm gonna grab the group again, duplicate it, -1 on the X, move it back here. So I got this piece. Now I'm gonna look at the groups that I have. So I'm gonna go all the way down to the outliner, group 9 and group 8. Duplicate those guys, move them down. And now we need to flip these two groups along the Y. So -1 on the Y, and move that. Now these are gonna change a little bit. They need to go closer because of the tapering that's happening. Oh, actually, there's no corner bracket there, so these we don't need to even do that. So